expressed in this show belong to the person expressing them. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of Rancher or any other entity.
Good morning, everybody! Welcome to today's episode of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. The purpose of this show is to share with you news and interesting content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and to talk really fast. And also to build a community of people who are interested in using technology to live a better life. If you're watching live, consider following or subscribing to the channel. And if you're watching a replay, please also give the video a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm shares it with other people. Join the free community site and the Discord server. Links to that are scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and they're also in the video description. Live chat happens in Discord with a bot that relays between YouTube and Twitch, although, come to a screeching halt. Yesterday we discovered that while the chat between humans is relayed, the responses from Trufflebot are not. Restream was surprised to hear that. So they're investigating, and so, yeah. So whatever. Trufflebot actually doesn't talk in the live chat. He talks in the A/B test, which isn't relayed anyway. So you know what? You can solve all of this by just joining Discord. And, well, actually, as you'll see in a second, that is where the real action happens. So let's pop over there real quick and say hello to everybody who's joining us today. Mac is getting the views up by watching on Twitch and on YouTube. Thank you very much. Ariel, good morning. Nuno, yes, Nuno is the one who discovered that the bot wasn't relaying. It's weird because there's like a setting where you can tell it to squelch regular chatbots, but that's turned off. And it's not a regular chatbot anyway, so whatever. We'll get it figured out. Wifebot, Nuno, Wojtek. Hey, Wojtek, I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you again. Mos, I didn't see you post the question about DevOps SRE yesterday, but we have something today that may come up in the A/B test that, in that universal unconscious of the internet stuff, might actually be appropriate. 0x76. Clint, more Nuno. Andrew, good morning. Trufflebot, hello. Restreambot, more Mac. Peter Keach, Ariel again. All right, so we're scrolling back to where people... Clint, did I see Clint? Frank, Smalls, Duck. Okay, those are all the shout-outs we got for today. Let's dive in. Oh, yeah, that's just the community site. So... the collector bots have gathered candidates for the show, and Trufflebot has scored them from 1 to 5 coffees, corresponding to a 75 to 100% probability of being interesting content. He'll post them one at a time in the A/B test channel on Discord, and I load them up. Anyone watching live, and also in the channel on Discord, can rate them, and then the final scores are shown when we move to the next item. The total rating for all items shown on the show is used to rate the show itself, and in the future, these votes will be used to refine the machine learning model that selects content. So let's jump over there. I'm going to throw my magical Harry Potter wand down before I throw it at the monitor. And let's get started. We only actually have 12 items that made it in the selection for today. Oh, Trufflebot? Trufflebot refuses to give us content. What just happened there? Waiting for me to vote? Okay, hang on. Grrr, Trufflebot is somehow... Did he just throw an... I bet he threw an exception. Oh, he totally threw an exception because I was changing stuff. Okay, hang on. Unbound local variable AB index reference before assignment. Oh. Now this turns into Adrian doing live debugging. Stand by, please. Line number... Okay, so what's the rule? Like, you're not supposed to make changes on Friday. AB control, wait, AB next, line 374, line 379. What have I done? I discovered yesterday that line 379, AB index... Can't talk and type at the same time. I discovered that the index wasn't restarting at 0 at the beginning of every single show. Let's see if this fixes it. Restarting Trufflebot. And so I made a change that was actually, I thought, pretty simple, and apparently was not. Loading 12 items, populating short links. Oh, yay for caching. And now, yay! Okay. Oh, IBM Cloud is working hard to establish relevance. Because, you got your big players. You got Google, you got Azure, you've got Amazon, and then you've got all the second tier people. And second tier can include third tier and fourth tier, and basically not first tier. So you've got Oracle Cloud, who somehow got a massive deal with Zoom. Good for them, because, Now, I don't know anything about IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud. I don't actually know what their infrastructure is. I imagine if you're a company who's going to launch a cloud service or a cloud to compete with Amazon, you're probably gonna do it right. So when this showed up yesterday, introducing IBM Code Engine, I thought, okay, cool, we'll put it on the show. Basically, what this is IBM's announcement of, we'll talk about the beta status here in a second, but it's their announcement of an engine that you can basically just point at a GitHub repo with source code, and it will do the entire build and deployment of your application. So it bypasses all of the build your containers and stuff. You still have to either have a Docker file or a build pack config there, but then you just point it and it just goes and goes. Everything is trying to make all of this cloud native stuff friendly for developers and having varying degrees of success doing it. But they announced Cloud Engine Beta. And so I'll put this out there and you can go and check it out. But do be aware, as I scroll down to the bottom here, that IBM has a totally different definition of beta than any of the rest of us. So it's beta. You may experience fluctuating behavior. That part, totally cool. And we'll delete your stuff after 7 days. Okay. That's not my definition of beta, but whatever. Go slap some stuff on it. Hopefully it's also free. They're not paying for, they're not having you pay for the privilege of having your stuff deleted. It looks like this may just wrap, so it wraps Knative. So if you want to know more about it, go read Knative. And if you don't want to use IBM Cloud, but you think this is a cool idea, just go deploy Knative and you can do it yourself. Oh my gosh, crazy. Okay, let's vote on that and get the next item. Yay, I'm glad this came up. Episode 1 of Seasons of Serverless is out. Challenge 1, the perfect holiday turkey. If you didn't watch last week, Seasons of Serverless is Microsoft's annual serverless. Somebody's whistling. They don't understand that I do a live stream every day. I tell them I do a live stream, and they just don't know what that means. Now they're whistling in the other room. They stopped. Okay. So Seasons of Serverless, they do this series of challenges every year to help you learn everything you need to know about serverless and also hopefully use Azure services in the process. The first challenge is out. You've got some recipe instructions for making a brine for turkey, and your challenge is to feed in the weight of a turkey and then get back the recipe to make the perfect turkey. Those of you who don't live in the United States may not understand the obsession that Americans have with turkeys at the end of November. It's entirely because the turkeys are a plague in the United States. You can find them in your bathroom. You can find them in the grocery store. No, it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's coming up the end of this week. It's the holiday where Americans get together with their family, and, well, this year they're going to... Okay. It's Thanksgiving. We are thankful for lots of things. Hopefully, thankful that 2020 is about to end. So the first challenge is out, and then from here you can also go get access to serverless free courses, documentation for Azure Functions. This is a really fun thing, and I encourage all of you to participate. This is an interesting article. This is from Tech Republic, and it makes an argument that is obvious. It's one of those things where you read it and you're like, well, yeah, that's obvious. But I was trying to think of any time that I've heard anybody actually say it. Not that I talk to millions and billions of people or read millions and billions of things, but it's relevant. So, First of all, they talk about DataStax created a distribution of Apache Cassandra built for Kubernetes called Cassandra, and nobody cared. So it's nice to see the article start with that. Hey, we made a thing and nobody cares. But let's dig into this a little bit further. The premise of the article is that in the early days of the cloud, people thought that the cloud would destroy open source, and they're postulating that the cloud has actually made open source more relevant. I can't dispute that. Open source is definitely a lot more relevant today than it was 10, 15 years ago. But is that just because people are more aware? And if they're more aware, or is it just because there's more of us doing this, in this industry? Or is it because cloud computing has democratized access to technology resources and really blown up the number of people who can participate in cloud native computing, the stuff we play with every single day, whatever you want to call it? But he goes on to say that the value of cloud providers using so the value of open source is that you can continue to use the software even if the maker of the software goes out of business. But when that moved to the cloud, well, you can continue to use the software if the maker of the software goes out of business and if the cloud provider goes out of business. Because as long as all the cloud providers are using the same open source software, you still have the power. The power is in the hands of the user to get up and move for whatever reason you want to. Because something is overpriced, because you don't like the way that they behave, because you don't like that it takes them 72 hours to respond to a support ticket and you have to shame them on Twitter. Because for whatever reason, you can move, and that gives you freedom. The core of what enables all of that is not the cloud provider, it's not cloud computing, it's not even you, it's open source software. So a business who invests heavily in open source software is, for me, the business that I want to work with. I'm extremely happy that companies have figured out how to monetize open source software. Because in the early days, it was like, wow, we pay a bunch of people to release stuff for free. That's stupid. But as it's become more prevalent, companies realize the value of support and access to engineering resources and just access to smart people so that you don't have to necessarily employ all of these skill sets yourself, rewards companies for making stuff that we can all benefit from. And I always go on the side of, hey, I'm going to get stuff for free because I have the skill set to deploy and use a lot of it myself. But I still want to see companies succeed and get paid for their time and energy and love and effort and stuff that goes into the software. So this is a cool article about how nobody cared about Cassandra, well, Cassandra, but that open source stuff in the cloud is amazing. You notice I'm talking more today? It's because we only have 12 items. So out of 1,400 that it went through yesterday, it picked out about 20, and then some of it was stuff that we'd already talked about, and some of it was old. Yeah. This one's kind of fun. Jack Anderson wanted to test auto-scaling of a Kubernetes deployment. And rather than deploy something normal and then pound on it with a load testing tool, he created something that actually uses a really terrible and inefficient sorting algorithm. I had no idea that BogosSort was a sorting algorithm that's designed to be garbage. So just by running something that uses this, he made a container out of it. I guess he didn't, but somebody did. Made a container out of it. So just by running this, you get the load built into it, and it should trigger autoscaling. The rest of this goes on to talk about how BogosSort is awful, and what were the Vogons? Vogons. They were the smelly aliens from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that came to destroy the Earth, the Vogons. I thought maybe it was Vogosort, but no, so it's not. So it's an article on autoscaling, but he introduced something that's going to become the tool of the day later. So this talks about autoscaling and is just, hey, cool, use BogosSort to test your stuff. As some of you know, content for the show is actually pulled from the internet by collector bots and then processed by a machine learning model. And then that's the thing that I do the secondary screening of. And that has dramatically increased the number of submissions that I can process in a day from 200 to On Sunday night, we did 3,800 submissions to come up with the content for Monday because I had 3 days to work with, and has given me a reason to talk about machine learning. One of the things in exploring machine learning data science stuff, and to those of you who are data scientists, I am not a data scientist. If any of you looked at my machine learning model, you would hit me with a stick and laugh and do all of the other things that you do to mock people who don't know what they're doing, but it works well enough, so I'm happy. There's a library for Python called Pandas that is super complicated. And I started doing stuff with Pandas and NumPy when I was first trying to figure out natural language processing and tokenization and stuff like that, and rapidly realized that it was just way more than I wanted to learn when you're trying to build a machine learning model in an afternoon. This is a bunch of gotchas and explanations about pandas that just within the first 2, 3, basically down to like here, I had discovered things that I didn't know about pandas. For example, pandas is column major. What the heck is column major? Column major means consecutive elements in a column are stored next to each other in memory. Row major means the same, but for elements in a row. Because modern computers process sequential data more efficiently than non-sequential data, if a table is row major, then accessing its rows will be much faster than accessing its columns. But because pandas is column sensitive, people tend to go searching through rows, and it's super slow. Perhaps because it's using Bogosort. No, it's a joke. And then they say, oh, pandas is slow and blah. But no, you're just using it wrong. And especially if you're coming from NumPy, where major order can be specified, you may not realize that its default is different. And he gives some examples of just that first thing, doing searches by row and by column, and then shows you how you can create a function and apply it to every single row so that you can iterate over a row. And he had me there. I was like, okay, this is pretty amazing. If you're doing anything with data science, or if you're just getting started in machine learning and data science and you come across pandas, go read this, because you will save yourself a lot of stabbing yourself in the eye with your Apple Pencil, which is absolutely totally what I did. I see that nobody in the community cares about data science. Well, okay. They're all like, whatevs. So next up, we have... There's one that I really hope comes up today, because it's really cool. If not, it'll go out in the espresso shot tweets tomorrow afternoon. We'll see. kubesec is a security validation tool for Kubernetes YAML, which in and of itself, okay, cool. You can run it locally, CLI. You can run it as a Docker container, but they also have kubesec as a service, where they actually run it out on their hosted infrastructure, and you can just run your stuff against it. You can, make a bash function for it, and it will spit back interesting things. For example, let's find my window that I had it actually up on. So if we do customize build of just this simple thing that I use when I'm teaching people how to do Kubernetes stuff every other week for Rancher, and this is just a really basic customized thing. But if I send this out to Manifest, which I did, and then if I run that against their endpoint, I get back a whole lot of JSON that I can then do stuff with. So everything is scored. Okay, so config map, it didn't recognize, that's fine. So this pass has a score of 1 point. You can actually use this in your CI/CD system to run the manifests before actually sending them out, and failing against, well, failing if the score is too high. So as you can see, I have, a lot of stuff in here from a security perspective. Well, I should say I don't have a lot of stuff in here from a security perspective. I have no service account. I have no seccomp profile. I have no memory or limits or CPU limits or requests, or it's just a terrible manifest. And if I deploy it, I'm a terrible person. It's so trivially easy to use that not really any reason not to do it. Now, it's not doing validation against anything other than security best practices. So I think that it makes a good a good bar to try and hit, and then above that you can have other stuff. You can do this kind of thing with Kyverno or OPA Gatekeeper with policies inside the cluster as admission webhooks and mutating things and stuff, or you can just do it before it ever gets to the cluster. Yesterday, in response to the Kepton Litmus Chaos piece that I had, Shipwreck was saying that he wasn't 100% sold on shifting chaos engineering to the left. He had some good arguments. I encouraged him to go to the community site and start a conversation about them. I don't know if he's done that yet, or we all work during the day, so maybe he'll come back and do it. Oh, and interestingly, the next item is actually super relevant. How about that? I totally didn't know this was coming up next. Well, so Litmus Chaos and Argo. Well, now you can use... I guess this was how it started. So this is an article on the origin of Litmus Chaos coming out of Intuit and Maya Data, and then what they've done with Argo to... Let's scroll down to the Argo bit. Argo, hello. Well, anyway, what they've done with Argo to get this into like a shift left model of stuff. I thought that shifting it left was important because I think if you want to test chaos engineering of components, it's nice to do that before you actually put them out in production and then or deploy them further down the chain. But his arguments were also valid, and I'm not going to tell you what they are because I'm going to encourage him to come to the community site and post them so that we can all have a conversation about them. But yesterday we had Litmus on with Kepton, and today we have Litmus on with Argo. So in October, they open sourced the Litmus plugin infrastructure, and then the Litmus Python and Argo workflow, which includes the Argo workflow, performance and chaos with Argo, and the Argo workflow via Jenkins, allowing you to get chaos into your Argo. I think it's great. Next up, oh, sweet! This is ridiculous. This is the one that I was hoping was going to come up. This is a New York Times article about AI-generated faces. And I'm just going to scroll through this, and y'all can just bug out for a second. It actually scrolls much better than that when my GPU isn't super taxed by streaming software. If you're watching live, just go open this and just scroll it. It's ridiculous. So once we get past all of it, they actually get down to the article about how they generated this with a GAN. I forget what the G stands for. Something adversarial network, where basically something generates a face and something else tries to figure out if it's fake. And then they fight back and forth until they do stuff. But look at some of this. So this top left image here, if I just scroll across, using AI, they're able to realistically and plausibly shift this person's age. These people aren't real. These people don't exist. There are services where you can buy 1,000 fake people to use as profile photos or testimonial pictures or stuff like that on your website. There's another service called Rosebud where you can actually get them to move and talk. I could be fake. You don't even know. Wifebot knows. Changing a person's expression based on their eyes or changing their mood down here in the bottom right. Like, this is crazy. This is the future. And it's going to become harder and harder to detect. We can shift a person, shift their race and ethnicity. We can shift somebody's gender. So you got like some androgyny here and then coming across into masculinity and then on the other side into femininity. The article continues by giving some examples of how you can actually detect these. But this stuff is going to get harder and harder and harder and harder to detect. There's a really good book called Kill Decision by Daniel Suarez. that uses this. It's a book about. Oh, well, there you go. There's a picture. It uses this in the book where there's a military unit, and when they start the book, he's told, do not, by his commanding officer, do not stop your mission under any conditions whatsoever. Even if I tell you to stop, do not stop it. And later on, the commanding officer shows up in a video message telling them to stop it, and it's completely real. And then they pick apart that it's like a super advanced deepfake from the enemy people. And this is going to happen. Like, we're going to need to build some kind of system to validate and detect deepfakes because they're, well, just don't trust. Like, when your mom calls you and tells you something, just don't trust. My service mesh is ready. Liar! Deepfake! Not true! All right. Today's show had an average rating of 4 coffees. That's a great show. Looks like all of you really like the deepfake thing. That's cool. So that takes us now to... what's next? I don't remember. The tool of the day. The tool of the day came out of the Code Engine article, and it actually supplanted what was previously the tool of the day. Was it this article? I thought it was that article. No, it was this article. It came out of the auto-scaling article where he used Insomnia to send over a request, to have it do something, to have it sort an array. And I was like, what the heck is Insomnia? Insomnia is a tool for crafting HTTP requests for triggering APIs. Cool. It's not the only one out there that does it. When I went digging, I found others, but it's the first one I found today, so I decided to put it on the show. It is free. You can also pay for it if you want some team features like E2EE data sync and workspace collaboration. But if you're just a solo wannabe developer like myself, this is great. I hate making requests with curl and then piping them to less and then picking apart the JSON and stuff like that. It never occurred to me that there are tools that will just do that for me and that look super friendly. They don't have really good screenshots, do they? Insomnia Designer. Yeah, they need some screenshots. Let's actually go back to the other article where there's a slightly better screenshot. Can you show me that? Yeah, so it's nice. You post your request on one side. You can actually, run get, post, put, and whatever the other one is, delete. And get your response on the other side. Look at the headers, inspect it. Like, this is so much better than developer tools in a browser or curl or really anything else. Not that I spend that much time with APIs, but when I do, come on, like I just want an easy life. Curl is like signing up for Apple Pencils in the eye when testing APIs. So there you go. That is today's tool of the day, Insomnia. I'm going to try this weekend to get Trufflebot to let us vote on tool of the day as well. He doesn't currently have that functionality, but I think it would be cool if all of you could be like, yay, or boo, or whatever. What am I doing? What time is it? Who am I? Oh my gosh. That is all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Links to everything I talk about on the show go up in the free community site at community.cncn.io, which I just took off the bottom of the screen. But if you haven't seen it by now, well, then you just tuned in. Community members get early access to the links, video replay, and other exclusive content. It's free to join, and it's growing every single day. If you have something that you would like for me to consider for the show, post it on the community site and then mention me and let me know. And we'll try to get it on the show. Otherwise, everybody can benefit and talk about it. You can also ping me on Twitter, ping me on Discord. I'm all over the place. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for watching. Keep learning, and I will see you in the next show. Stay caffeinated.